How's everyone doing today, all right? Lights are kind of bright here. Listen, fantastic to be with you today. My name is Chuck Mulloy, and maybe a little bit about myself before we start. Right? I consider myself a passionate learner. Always have been, right? And I've been fortunate to lead different business teams and learn from them across the Asia-Pacific region for the better part of 25 years. My first trip to India was in 1997, and this is my first trip back since the pandemic. Right? I'm new to Skillsoft this year and responsible for the Asia-Pacific region, and I just want to talk about 3 reasons why I'm with this company. And they're key. 1 is the people. 2 is the enterprise end-to-end solutions backed by a portfolio of skills and an underlying professional services team that allow Skillsoft to do what is the most important thing, and that's true partnership with its customers, right? And helping the customers along their transformational journeys of their businesses. And I think, when we talk about journeys, that means change. And I don't have to tell anyone how much the world is changing and how constantly it's changing. And for me as an individual, and I think it pushes me and it pushes all of us to constantly skill and reskill, right? And the question, and it was said earlier, that is asked by many is how do we ensure that the workforce we have today is the one that we need tomorrow, right? And this is a challenge that business leaders are wrestling with and thinking about constantly, right? And it's not something that you can simply hire away. So it can't be hired away. So in addition to this constant change, see if we have here, it's the talent shortage that we all know about globally. Right? It doesn't matter whether it's a developed company or a developing company, all facing the same challenge globally. There's not enough talent. And when you talk about, I think I have a build here. There we go. Talking with some of my colleagues here in India and looking at some of the local survey data, when you look at the skilled workforce here in India, there is a skills gap specifically growing across tech skills, right? So you can't buy your way out of this one, I like to tell people. It's not possible, right? In the past, the approach would be I can simply hire those skills, I can pay more salary, I can get those skills. 3 reasons that that's not going to happen, right? The first, technology. Today, when you think about any company is now a technology company. And think about globally, across every industry that you can think of, there is still some form of digital transformation happening, right? And as a direct result of that, new skills are required, and it's a constant quest for a set of skills that there's simply not enough of. You take that and you add workforce demographics. If you look globally at certain countries, you're going to see that the number of professionals entering the workforce pool is less than exiting. Here in India, I think it's interesting because you have growth with millennials and Generation Z, right? I love Generation Z, right? Every time because when you think about it, the value system, right? The core value system of someone when I talk to them in Gen Z is completely different from mine. And I have to ask myself, right? how does this person define success, right? What is important to them? What makes them happy at work? How do they engage? And I think all of these things need to be taken into consideration when we're recruiting talent, right? When we're managing talent, when we're developing talent. And on top of that, and it was mentioned earlier in the earlier panel about the compression, right, of skills themselves, the half-life of skills. I'll date myself. In the 1980s, half-life of a job was 30 years, right? 30 years. By the early 2000s, it was a decade, 10. Now, job descriptions are changing 18 to 24 months. Every 18. By the time a JD is written, someone is hired, they're onboarded. Some of the skills that they maybe brought to the table are becoming obsolete, and new ones are being added. So there's this constant swirl and challenge that everyone faces, and it's not going to go away, right? So what you can't buy, you can build and bridge to. Now, in order to do that, you need a skills framework, and that means simply you need to define the skills that you need and build learning pathways to achieve and address those needs. Right? Let's, if we can, I just have to ask a question. I can't see anyone, but Nutella makes me smile. I just love Nutella. It's one of those things. And Ferrero, Skillsoft brand is an awesome company, right? And they are growing, right? They are growing in the last 3 years, despite all the challenges that we know a lot of businesses have faced, and at the core of their growth, at the heart of it, is learning, right? So now the brand itself, the group, is present in over 170 countries, right? They have evolved from a regional European player to a true multinational. Now, entering into the pandemic, they were in the process of rolling out an LMS system and trying to move towards a blended learning program. They had a little bit of video conferencing going on. They had zero experience in online, none. They had no virtual classroom setup, right? So the challenge was they had a localized learning development program, but they wanted to turn it into an enterprise. I'm going to go back to that, enterprise Ferrero University, right? So the outcome, working with Skillsoft, and again, I want to say in partnership, I want to go back to that word partnership with Ferrero, they were able to adopt a 24/7 on-demand learning approach that cuts across, for them, key areas in compliance, leadership, and onboarding. Now, the university itself has a tag to it, we grow together, right? We grow together. For Ferrero, the individuals themselves, the employees, are improving their skills, and the business itself, its enterprise business, is growing, all right? And I think when you talk about the elements of success in enterprise, it's about skills transformation, right? It's key. And when you talk about skills transformation, 3 key areas, right? Technology, leadership, and risk. We can take an example, generative AI, it was just mentioned, right? If you're rolling out generative AI, how can you ensure, right, that the learning is correct? How can you ensure that the technology learning is across the tools relevant to generative AI? How can you ensure that the leaders are guiding the change of the company, right, while staying true to the course of mission and vision of the company? And how can you ensure from a risk perspective that the entire workforce is across issues as it may come with security. Now, skills transformation is only, again, as good as what's behind it. And here we go. The portfolio that Skillsoft offers, and I just want to, again, leadership in business, compliance, and technology and developer, over 700 skills, right? Very important to the critical success of enterprise. The landscape that we exist in today, that's available when you talk about learning solutions, I would say it's a bit disjointed, maybe, fragmented. You can ask yourselves. When you talk about impactful learning programs, transformational, in a patchwork solution, I don't know, right? When you look at the landscape of what people are, and it's difficult, right? It's complex. Companies are trying to stitch things together, and it's a mix of a little bit of content, a little bit of homegrown, mixed modalities. But what that doesn't give is visibility, enterprise-wide visibility. It doesn't allow you to assess risk. It's definitely not cost-effective or efficient, right? And there's no way to measure outcomes. So, what I'd like to talk about a little bit is the value Skillsoft delivers. Visibility and measurement, right? And I'll go back to enterprise, right? And I believe this is the differentiator that we bring to bear, right? Complete visibility, whether it's technology, whether it's leadership, and one of our differentiators in terms of measurements is our performance measurement benchmarks, right? Our skills benchmarks. Because unlike anything else, you can actually measure against a subject matter expert, and that will allow you to actually guide and develop an individual to the next level. So someone could be a novice and yearn to be an expert, and will guide that journey. All right, there we go. I want to just take that and connect it to end-to-end when we talk about end-to-end enterprise program management. Now, if you think about any individual coming in and you want to assess what is their skill, where are they at, and they do a performance benchmark. The next thing you would do is create a journey, a personalized journey for them that's going to involve mixed modalities, whether it's instructor-led training, whether it's coaching, whether it's interactive learning. Our interactive learning, the best way I would describe it is coding to learn instead of learning to code, right? Which is a very sticky, engaging way to keep that personalized journey. And it was talked about earlier in the previous panel about how to keep people engaged and using this, the programs that are in front of them. In totality, when you have visibility into the end-to-end scenario, that allows you to be more cost-effective and cost-efficient, and it guides you to being able to deliver results. Because at the end of this journey, what we want to be able to do is have a competitive advantage. That bell is not for me. And that competitive advantage comes from being able to actually measure the results, right? Now, I just want to come back to what I started off with and talk about partnership. You know, the example of Ferrero. the way Skillsoft engages with each and every customer, and it's not just each and every customer, it's each and every learner. Like our mission as a company, right, is to help individuals and organizations grow in transformational learning, right? That's based in a number of things, and the company's been around for 25 years, but I will come back to what I started off with in terms of partnership with every company that we work with. That's driven by the people, and it's driven by an enterprise end-to-end set of solutions backed by skills portfolio, right, and underlying professional services that will work with each and every customer and each and every prospect that we have to deliver on those transformational changes. So with that, this clock says time's up. I want to say thank you to everyone for your time today, and we'll be around the Skillsoft booth. We can take questions. Enjoy the rest of your day, and everyone, it's all about learning. Thank you very much.